All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Nigel Tan. I'm the Senior SC for Southeast Asia. While I'm waiting for a few more attendees to join, let's wait for a couple of seconds before I start the session for today. Right, so let me start the session. So to begin with, I probably want to mention about that maybe some of you might have been already experts in the IT infrastructure, storage, networking, or security, and probably maybe you have new to, in the application line of business, or even maybe backup operations. So to emphasize that initial dealing with Kubernetes and microservices may seem intimidating and learning curve seems steep. Some of the terms that and the jargons that is going to mention in this session may not ring a bells, but sometimes we need to reckon that we might not even have a clue on how to get started with deploying a Kubernetes cluster. So even though that if you are really interested to get explore in the world of Kubernetes. So today is a great time. I'm going to deliver this session to show that it is really not difficult to kickstart your Kubernetes learning journey. Starting from zero to hero, I will show you how you can get Kasten K10 up and running in your local x86 platform. That could be your laptop or workstations, or even a simple VMs using Minikube. So before I go into the sessions, I also like to give credits to our senior global technologist, Michael Kidd, who has actually curated and made this lab possible. Do spare some time to visit his GitHub and read about his write-up on his 90 days of DevOps. More details will be shared with everyone at the later part of these sessions. I also like to emphasize that at the end of this session, please help to fill out a survey after this. Thank you. Believe it or not, I'm sure that most of you could probably chance or hear the term called Kubernetes now and then. The source of this word could be from your bosses, colleagues, or your industry peers. Sometimes you may even chance across in social media or even newsletter that you have subscribed. But you don't really have to be afraid because you are not the only one who has hear this. But we probably have to fathom the fact that how application modernizations has impacted the way how traditional IT function and operates. So the traditional way of IT operations and application developments operates differently as compared to the DevOps process. So Kubernetes orchestrations platform has truly helped organizations to deliver and truly manage containerized legacy and cloud native applications. This include the legacy application that has been refactored into microservices. Consciously or organically, we are seeing the growing trends of organizations accepting application modernizations approach as part for their business instead of building application on top of conventional platforms such as virtualizations. By breaking monolithic applications into microservices, organizations, IT, and DevOps are adopting the practices of re-platforming legacy applications or even develop new business applications on top of container orchestrations platform, which is Kubernetes in this case. So in today's session, we are going to illustrate the process of how to deploy a Minikube cluster running on the local machines. So in this case, in today's lab, I'll be using a VMware workstation that has been installed on my laptop. After which, I am going to deploy deploy the container engine, which I will be using Docker for this case. You can feel free to use any other form of container runtime engine. And after which, we will deploy some fun and interesting data services on top of the Minikube, as well as Kasten instances on the same instance. So the performance of these systems will vary according to your hardware resources. So you may want to increase CPU or memory resources as needed if you have the intention to deep dive and explore more about the Kubernetes and Kubernetes functions and features. So nevertheless, the highlight here is that you can run Kasten across multiple Kubernetes environment. So be it on Minikube or any other type of distribution such as the OpenShift, Tanzu, EKS, AKS, etc. So other thing that if you do not have a VMware workstation, that's fine. So there are other various different methods you can run run Minikube on. If you are running on Windows, you can leverage on WSL2 Windows subsystem for Linux. So there are many other options, or you can even run stacks on top of your Mac OS as well. So the bottom line is that with Minikube, we do not really have to, fork out our own credit card. I mean, to subscribe to cloud. I mean, this is just for testing purpose. I know for the longevity of testing, maybe you want to try out things, but not to worry about the cost. 7round is a great chance for you to get your hands on and really learn how to play around with the Kubernetes. So you have your own personal Kubernetes space to learn along the way. So yep, so stay tuned and have fun. So before we get started, we probably want to explain what Minikube is about. So basically, Minikube is a utility that allows you to run Kubernetes or KAS, in short, on your local machine, which I mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, could be on Linux, Mac OS, or Windows. So what it does here is that it creates a single node cluster contained in the virtual machines. Yes, virtual machine, or you can, that is the thing. Abstractions on top of virtualizations. So the cluster lets you demonstrate Kubernetes operations without requiring spending much effort and research to install a full-blown Kubernetes cluster. So you can install like to sum it out, you can install a Minikube on top of a VM. Then you can deploy as a container or on the bare metal machines. So this flexibility enables you to try out the Kubernetes deployment, perform development tasks or test configurations easily. So a lot of functions is nearly as similar as a full-blown Kubernetes cluster. So Minikube is especially useful for those who are new to Kubernetes as it helps you to gain familiarity with the basic concepts. So the next thing that you will really be using or chance across very oftenly is the kubectl. So basically think of it like it's a tool that allows you to run command against Kubernetes cluster. Basically, it's a CLI tool that speaks to the Kubernetes API management APIs. So just think of it like think of it as the car ECU as the Kubernetes engine API, and the kubectl is the steering wheel. So you basically steer your vehicle to the right directions, reverse, forward, turn left, turn right. So this is a similar concept. So basically with kubectl, you can use it to deploy applications, inspect and manage cluster resources, or even view logs. So in short, it's basically a client-based tool for communicating with the Kubernetes cluster control plane. So it is a very essential tool. Like it or not, you have to use these tools often if you are going to get hands-on intensively with Kubernetes platform. So without further ado, we will jump straight into the sessions to illustrate how we can build Minikube from scratch and all the way to deploying the Kasten K10 and some application services. So just to get you started, so once we get through, we will walk through the K10 dashboard. So after that, we will add S3 locations for the snapshots to be exported up. And yeah, I mean, dealing with data protection, we're probably looking at creating a policy to create the data services, which will be running Pacman as the Node.js uh, and MongoDB applications, data services running on the Minikube, and score up some high scores as part of the gaming. If you like games, this is going to be fun. Reminds us of the old time gaming. Then we're going to delete the application and restore back everything to original location using K10. So this is an illustration of what we are going to do. So I'll be running on top. I'll have already prepared Ubuntu VMs 20.04 on my VMware workstations. I am going to set up the Docker container runtime engine, and after that, I will set up the Minikube. It will take probably a few minutes. And with that in mind, the applications, the Pacman application will be running using Node.js coupled with the MongoDB as a backend services, and also with K10 instance installed in a separate namespace on the same cluster. So yeah, mini IO as well. So we will use a min IO as the S3 target to simulate as a object storage for backup export. So without further ado, let me jump straight into the labs. Sorry, just give me a moment. Okay, so right now I have already installed the, sorry, let me show my screen again. Sorry about that. So right now, I'm in the VMware Workstation console. I have already prepared a Ubuntu 20.04 VM running in my environment. So you can be GRI enabled or no GRI, doesn't really matter. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to uh, do a SSH terminal and perform all the tasks from the terminal console. So let me jump straight into the login. Try to enlarge the fonts. Okay, cool. So I have already successfully logged in. So the first thing we're going to do is that we are going to install the Docker engine. That's the very first thing you need to do. We'll do a few seconds. Okay, done. I've installed. So let me double check if I have successfully installed the Docker. So yep, okay, cool. I got the Docker up and running. So let's include my current user into the Docker groups. So I'm using my own username, create a new group or Docker. So let's verify this. Okay, so I included the user inside the Docker group. So right now, remember we mentioned about the kubectl, so and also Minikube. Right now, we're going to use Arcane instead of using apt-get to get it save a lot more hassle. So I'm going to use this command to download the tool so that it makes my life easier to download the tools necessary for me to perform the necessary Kubernetes functions. Okay, so I use this open source tool for automation. So I'm going to get Minikube, Helm chart, and kubectl. Okay, that's typo. Let's take a while to pull all the binaries down. Okay, so I'm going to move all these binaries to my global path. So, or you can export the path up. So right now, I successfully downloaded the Minikube Helm chart and kubectl. So next thing I'm going to do is I am going to set up the Minikube cluster. Minikube starts using Veeam driver. Going to be Docker. In fact, if you don't specify this, it's okay. By default, you'll use Docker. But if you're using any other container engine, such as virtualization for running your containers, you can use VirtualBox. Now, start for this, you need to specify that. So add-ons, volume snapshots, CSI host, path driver. And I'm going to set the API server port to default Kubernetes, port 443, container, runtime, equal container, D. Give a name, give a cluster name. So I'm going to use K10 Minikube demo and specify the Kubernetes versions equals I'm going to use this version. So by default, it's going to use two vCPU and 4 gig memory. So, but because I've been running quite a couple of data services with Kasten, I'm going to increase the CPU resources a bit more. Memory equal 8G. Okay, let's hope. Okay, so the Minikube application will automate all the process. So you can just have a cup of coffee or maybe have some drinks while waiting for the cluster to be up. So if you look at what we are doing here is that you will start to pull the container image online and via Docker. So everything will be well taken care of. So remember, so some of the parameters that I add on with the parameters like using volume snapshot, CSI host path, these are all the essentials needed for Kasten to be to enable the snapshot process through CSI, and this is only for demo purpose, but it's necessary. Then of course the volume snapshot capabilities. But if you are interested to explore more about the Kubernetes, let's say you want to enable dashboard stuff or this, play around with the ingress or more advanced stuff, later I'll show you what the commands. Then you can see whether do you want to add on or not, up to you. So this will probably take another few seconds more to get it ready. So along the way, if you have any questions, just feel free to pop your questions in the chat box. Okay, done. So setting up a Kubernetes on Minikube is very fast, so you don't need to spend a day. So yeah, I mentioned, so I am going to show you what are the list of components that I have installed. So let me K10 Minikube demo. So with the options I enabled, you can enable more options. So basically, these are the parameters I enabled when I setting out the Minikube services. So yep. So if you're really interested to add more services, just use this command. Add-ons, enable. Let's say you want to enable the dashboard, no problem. Just add in dashboard and specify your cluster name. That's KK10 Minikube demo. So this is how you do it, but I'm not going to use it. I will be focusing more on the process. So right now, I successfully established the Minikube cluster. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a kubectl command to get what are the information we have. So we have the snapshot class enabled, and let's check if we have the necessary storage class enabled. Yep. Okay. So right now is we wanted to make sure that as part of the demonstration of data protection, we leverage pretty much on snapshots, which relies much on CSI. What we're going to do is we are going to annotate the snap class and associate to K10. So what we're going to do is we are going to use a kubectl annotate volume using this command k10.kasten.io/is snapshot class. Excuse me. Okay, that's verified. Yep, correct. And next thing is I wanted to make sure that all subsequent data services are all deployed on the CSI host path storage class instead of using standard. So let me try to patch this to make sure that I'm using the CSI host path as a default. Storage class, CSI host path, xc minus p. What's this? Okay. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm not going to do the standard. So let's verify again. Okay, cool. So yeah, by using the CSI enable storage class as the default storage class. So okay, right now we have already established the Minikube cluster. Right now I'm going to set up the Kasten instance in the same cluster. So before we go into that, we need to make sure that we add the Helm chart repo for Kasten. charts.kasten.io/. Okay, so I've added the Helm chart repo. Now I'm going to do an installation. So the command will be helm install k10 kasten/k10 namespace equal kasten io. I'm going to make sure that it creates a namespace for me and follow the rest of. So these are parameters. All these are are available in the guide, which I'm going to send you the link at the end of these sessions. So let's check if the installations is in progress. Yeah, so right now it's in progress. So it will take a few minutes. While it is in progress, I will want to take this opportunity to deploy the data services as well so that I can run some applications on top. So what I'm going to do is we are going to do uh, download the GitHub repository, and we are going to deploy this Pacman applications. So what is this? What is it about this Pacman application? So typically it's an application deployment file that specify the applications and the services I will want to deploy. So by leveraging on kubectl, I'm able to run this deployment seamlessly. So we have to define what are the cluster role binding stuff and permission stuff. All this. You don't have to worry. All these are available in the lab resources as well. So it was specified that I will be pulling and deploying a MongoDB as a backend services with a Node.js front-end applications running, which is a Pacman applications. So so let's check if Kasten is ready. No, it's still ready. So how about Pacman? So it'll take a while. So then right now the next thing I'm going to set up is the Minio, which is open source object storage. I'm going to set up Minio inside the same cluster as well. Okay, so next thing is install namespace, create a namespace, generate name. Okay. Okay, so right now I'm doing 3 deployment services and all these are running at the backend. Let's check if the Kasten is ready. It's not ready yet. How about Pacman? Yeah, it'll take a while. So going back to the slide here, so basically what I'm did here is I have run the deployment for Kasten, Min9o, Node.js, and MongoDB, which Node.js and MongoDB are part of the Pacman applications. Let's wait for a while. You just take some bits. Okay. So while the deployment, let me try to launch a port forwarding so that I can launch the app, because in this Minikube resources, Minikube environment, I don't have a load balancing or ingress controller. I will be using port forwarding so that I can launch the applications. Okay, so let me launch the kubectl. clear kubectl port forward address 0.0.0. So this is pacman. I'm going to forward it to, let me check what is the service running. Yeah, it's running on port 80. So let's see. 919180 MSN pacman. Okay, let's hope this is running. Yeah, you'll take a while. Sorry, due to resource con. I should be running the pacman. Let me launch the applications using port 9191. Okay, so the pacman is ready, but I'm still waiting for the backend services to be up. Check if the okay, for Minilo, so let me try to launch the Minilo first. So while waiting for the rest to be ready. So kubectl get service and okay, so they are using port 9090 to the console. So let me do another port forwarding to make sure that I can launch the MinIO console. Okay, so let me do this. kubectl port forward. I use back the original console. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so all I know, I need to get the token code. So let me get this. So this is token code that is part of secrets as part of running as a container. So I need to extract these secrets to log in. Okay, so we need to wait a while it's provisioning. So let's just take a while. Let me check if the Kasten is ready. Yeah, okay, cool. Kasten now is running. Before that, let me try to jump some score first. I need to make sure that if my pacman application backend is running fine. Okay, so what's going to happen here is I'm going to run a few games to record high scores. So just think of it that when I'm recording a high score, just think of it like a database transactions. So I'll be capturing the scores and all this will be saved in the records. So the MongoDB is the backend database record that actually is keeping track of all this data in a persistent volume. Okay, let's be a bit more aggressive. Okay. Just let it run and come on. I just want to record the scores. Okay. Score 2. Okay, so I recorded 2 scores and this is my highest score. So what I do is since the caster is already up and running, so let me check what are the things I need to do. I need to get the tokens and the service as nkasten-io. So Kasten is running, the gateway is running on 8,000. So I need to get the secrets. So that is a way of for me to get these tokens. So I'm going to use to capture the secrets under the namespace kasten.io and grab the tokens. And I need this code. So another thing I need to do is I need to launch another terminal so that I can do a port forwarding process. Okay, kubectl port forward. Address equals 0.0.0. Because I'm using a NAT in my virtual machine, so I need to specify the address to be open. Namespace kasten.io services gateway. I'm going to use 8080 and okay, let's go here. This one should be ready. Okay, so let's go to Kasten. Remember that we need to specify the port number, Kasten, and this. Okay, so I'll put this token here and log in. So I'm logging in using tokens. Okay, so what happened here is this is the Kasten console. So what it goes here, when you go to settings, you can go to the various settings here. So in the I'm using a light mode or using a dark mode. So this is where we need to define the location profile for my backup to export the snapshot to. So remember, I have a provision Mini.io as a S3 target. So what I do is I'm going to create a storage location profile so that I can export the snapshot to this location. So I'm going to do is I'm going to split that this Mini.io using S3 compatible. So what's the access key and the secrets? Once again, I need to go to Mini.io here and manage here. So under here, I will create a bucket called backup. Yeah, I leave the rest of settings default. So the next thing I do is I need to create a service account and just create it. So just take note of the access key and the secret key which you need to input into Kasten. So we'll download this and you can download the JSON file if you need to keep track of the service account because you will not be able to access to the access key and secret key once you click done. So let me create this. And what about the secrets? So for the endpoint, this is an internal Kubernetes Min.io DNS, so I need to use specific this DNS address. min.io.default.service.cluster.local. So we'll skip this SSL verifications and bucket is backup, which is the folder I've created. So if you have successfully created, the status will show valid. So right now I'll go back to the home page to identify what are the applications. So remember, I already provisioned an application called Pacman using Pacman as a namespace. So it had been discovered by Kasten. So what I'm going to do is it's not protected by any policy. I'm going to create a policy. So the domain name will be Pacman Backup. The action will be snapshot. So the frequency you can determine based on hourly, daily, weekly, or even monthly. So for this, I will use a daily. You can leave the rest as a default. If you are interested to play around with, just feel free to mingle around and play around with the retention policy. So I'm going to export the snapshots to Minilo so that the backup will be exported to a S3 compatible object storage. So other than that, by default, I'm using the name. So based on namespace, so Pacman has been defaulted, has been selected by default. If you want to back up the CRD stuff or this cluster role binding, then you can do that as well. So we just need to create a policy. So going back to my Pacman, I have already recorded those scores. Right now is I'm going to run the backup. So the backup will be in progress. So you will show what's the status stuff. So if you are more advanced, you can view in YAML, but I'm not for this demo purposes. Maybe it's not necessary. So just once you get successfully install Kasten, do feel free to play around with the features. So the snapshot is in progress. So just bear in mind that when we take a snapshot, we'll capture all the components and the objects associated to the to this Pacman application. So you capture the secrets, the config map, services deployment, role binding stuff, files, all this, etc. We include the persistent volume claim as well. So these are the PVC are protected as well. So while waiting for it to happen, so let me play a few games first, one more game, so that I want to record one more score. So when we recover this, we just want to emulate that when we ingest let me simulate that we want to ingest error data and we want to recover from it. You can actually do that as well. So you can recover from the snapshot. So we have ingest some error data, but it is not going to be captured when I do restorations, because I consider that as an error data. Done. Okay, so what happened here is we go to the bucket and browse. So right now here you see the bucket has something on it already. So basically Kasten has exported the snapshot data in DDO formats to this bucket. So let's check if the backup is okay. The backup is ready. Okay, so I'm going to destroy this as a final steps. I'm going to destroy these applications. So the app is still here. So I'm going to do is I'm going to destroy these applications. Pacman applications. Okay. So there's no more Pacman applications. So I try to try this, it will show error. So what I do is I'm going to use to leverage on Kasten to recover everything back. Note that I should not be able to see any error data available because I back up before I ingest that new data in. So let's go into the applications. Right now I cannot detect these Pacman applications because it has been deleted. So but we have already backup history, so we're gonna do a restorations. So under these restorations, we are going to create a namespace called Pacman. So we are going to restore this back to Pacman namespace, and you have other options. So for this, we will restore everything, including the snapshot, including the persistent volume stuff, all these, and we're going to do the restore. So while the restore is taking place, let me check if the namespace has been created. Yes, the Pacman namespace has been created. So let's check what is going on inside. So along the way, when Kasten is doing the performing the restorations, there will be process running at the backend to provision back the to import back all the backup data to such as the persistent volume. After that, that includes the config map and deployment files, and after that, you automate the process of restoring back the applications as in the original states. So right now, if you look at it, the MongoDB pods are up and running. The front end Node.js is up and running. I'm going to, since this is a new pod, I am going to rerun the pod forwarding process. Okay, so we're going to do a restarts. Okay, now we have successfully restored back the applications. Yep, with all the scores correctly restored as well. So that pretty much sum up the demonstrations. Yeah, so if you're interested to know more about how to set up your Minikube, you can start using your phone and scan the QR code. But do not worry, if you have registered for this event, you will be a copy of this contents will be shared out after this. So, but have fun. So if you need more resources, so please feel free to visit learning.kasten.io. Then I also like to emphasize that as this is a series, part of the series of 90 Days of Ops, it is used, this GitHub repository is used to document Michael Cage's journey on getting a better foundation of DevOps. So the journey was first started in 1st Jan, but the idea is that for documenting all this information is really will benefit someone who is new to DevOps, and hope that you guys can take something out of it. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise in the chat. Okay, let me check if there's any questions. So there's a question that is there any chance that in future Veeam will remove the free version, community version, and become only paid enterprise? And right now there's no plans. The free version remains as a limited version for 5 nodes. For enterprise or versions will be based on per worker node. So, but what's the difference between for community version? It does not comes with the enterprise support. So this is very essential, especially if you are running data services even below 5 node, and of course mission critical workloads require enterprise support. So it's necessary to consider the paid versions. Yep. So I hope I have managed to answer a question that's been raised. Okay, with that in mind, please remember to help to fill in the survey at the end of these sessions. So before that, I also want to reach out to everyone and share with everyone that there will be an upcoming live webinar that will cover on the 5 Kubernetes trend in the enterprise environment. So it will introduce on the what and the why of container orchestrations, and there will be also deep dive into the reason why there's an increased number of organizations adopting Kubernetes. So there will be also discussion about the 5 top trends in 2002 regarding Kubernetes in the Kubernetes space that evolve around security, hybrid, multi-cloud, and many more. So throughout each of these trends, there will be discussion and topics about considering the role of data protection has helped organizations in preparation of future Kubernetes deployment. So with that, if there's anything, so I would like to thank you for your time for the day. Please have fun enjoying to play around with Minikube. Thank you.